Somebody else named? There we go.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's council meeting of Tuesday, January 13th. Happy New Year. This is our first meeting back since the Christmas break. Hope everybody had a safe and happy one. I will start off our meeting with our land acknowledgement. As we gather here today, let us be reminded that the community in which we live, work, and play is situated on traditional, unceded Algonquin First Nation territory. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Anishinaabe people and express our respect and support for their rich history and culture. Can I get a call to order, please?
All members of council are present.
Item number 3 is the approval of the agenda. The recommended motion is that the agenda be approved as presented. Could I get a mover? Moved by Councillor Hinton, seconded by Councillor Comley. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and or conflict of interest, the general nature thereof can be made now or at any point throughout the meeting by notifying the clerk. The approval of the minutes. The recommended motion, we're going to do this? All right, recommended motion, please.
As my computer hiccups, that the council minutes dated December 9th, 2025 be accepted as presented.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Atkinson, seconded by Councillor Sekaspina. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried. Moves us along to bylaws, which we have a few. Bylaw number 1, the recommended motion, please.
Okay, so that the following bylaws be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. 01-2026 part lot control for 180 and 182 O'Donovan Drive. 02-2026 part lot control for 186 and 188 O'Donovan Drive. 03-2026 part lot control for 192 and 194 O'Donovan Drive. Bylaw 04-2026 125, 127, 129, 131, 133, and 135 McPhail Road. And that they all be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Thank you very much. Moved by Deputy Mayor Tennant, seconded by Councillor Hinton. Any discussion on the part lots? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Item number 2 for transfer payment.
Okay, there we go. The recommended motion is that bylaw 05-2026 transfer payment agreement for fire protection grant 2025 to 2026 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Comley, seconded by Councillor Kavanagh. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. And the third bylaw for road dedication, the recommended motion, please.
That bylaw 06-2026 road dedication for MacArthur Avenue be ready first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Thank you. The mover, please. Sorry. Councillor Atkinson, seconded by Councillor Kavanagh. Any discussion on the road dedication? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. And that moves us along now to announcements. I will have my annual address, but before we do that, we generally go around the horn and see if anybody has anything to talk about community-wise. And Councillor Sekaspina will start us off.
Saturday, January 24th, the Carleton Place and Beckwith Heritage Museum. It's their first antique vendor sale at 9 a.m. 8 local vendors selling collectibles, vintage, antique, and $2 to get in. And the second Tuesday every month at our Carleton Place Library, they have started Flow and Stroll, which is 6 to 7 walking outside. So do come dressed appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sekaspina. Counselor Kavanaugh surprisingly doesn't have anything. Can't believe that. What's going on? Is there anything else? So before I go to my address, I don't know, and I'm going to ask a question first. Deputy Mayor Tennant, I wasn't here at the last meeting. Did we say anything about Rob Croft? Okay, so over the weekend, I had the pleasure, along with Councillor Comley, she is part of the Police Services Board. We had the pleasure to go to the retirement party for Sergeant Rob Croft, who worked here as our local OPP officer for, I believe, 17 years. Sergeant Croft was an amazing asset to our community. He was a patient man. He was truly a kind human being, and was very open to speak and relay information from the OPP to our citizens anytime they had comments. There was some very nice comments from his fellow OPP officers and higher ups. But I just wanted to just say thank you on behalf of the council and the staff and everybody over the years that had dealt with Sergeant Croft. Thank you very much. We wish you all the best in retirement. He's retiring at the exact same time as his wife, which is an interesting thing and was planned. But we wish you all the best, and just a great human being and a very good police officer to boot. So thank you. Okay, and I'm going to have to put on reading glasses, which starts to tell you about my age. Don't laugh, Councillor Hinton. I can see you. So every year I generally, well, I can't see my screen with them on, so that's a horrible thing. Every year I would do a bit of a wrap up, and normally we would do this before Christmas, and unfortunately due to some family stuff, I was unable to attend our last meeting. And it's a wrap up just to kind of talk about the 2025 and the year that it was, and what we have going on coming up in 2026. Before I get into my prepared portion of it, which is I've made smaller than last year. If anybody can remember last year's, it was kind of very, very much rambling. So we've narrowed it down a little bit. But I just want to say what a great year it was. I believe around the council horn for the town of Carleton Place. We are growing at a fevered rate, and even though there wasn't a lot of growth last year because of outside, the banking industries and stuff that's happening around the world, that's being felt everywhere. Town of Carleton Place is still growing, still opening businesses. Very proud of the work that this council has done, and the fact that we do it in a manner that shows respect for the process, respect for each other, respect for our citizens. I just want to say thank you to all of you and to our staff for all of the hard work that they put in 2025, and 2026 is going to be another very busy year. I think you could probably put that on replay for the next decade in Carleton Place, but thank you very much for all the efforts for the council, and we're very open and accessible to the public. You all treat the public with respect, and thank you very much for all your efforts. So with that, at the beginning of this term, council set out a clear strategic plan with defined priorities, a disciplined approach to decision-making, and a commitment to follow through. With the exception of one item that was deliberately removed, our plan and strategic plan was completed. Along the way, we have advanced critical studies, updated our planning framework, invested in core infrastructure, and supported steady, managed growth. These outcomes did not come by chance. They reflect a council and a staff team focused on service delivery, long-term planning, and fiscal responsibility. Doing the work that needs to be done and always keeping our community at the center of every decision. And I will start, so I've got a couple of items that I'll highlight, but I want to start off by highlighting the fact that we passed a 1.95 budget. I've looked around. I don't know anybody else that has had one that low. We came in the year before a little higher than we wanted to because of some outside pressures and out of necessity. But we realize that, it is tough out there right now. there's some unstable financial situations for not only municipalities, but individuals. And that 1.95 was a lot of hard work by our council and by our staff especially. So thank you very much for that. Our strategic plan we set out at the beginning of the 2022 term involved the following: the service delivery and communications, transit system and options for that, facilities and infrastructure updates, tourism and events, and an economic development and managed commercial growth, all of which we accomplished before the start of the fourth year of our term, minus one that we removed because we all decided that it wasn't worth putting money towards right now. And you can't accomplish all of those without the hard work of our staff. A lot of those studies were done internally, and a lot of the efforts were done by our staff. And again, I have to thank them. A number of studies were completed, including our transit feasibility study, our new official plan, our new development permit bylaw, which was adopted but unfortunately is currently being appealed, our development charges background study, and a secondary plan for the lands behind Walmart for future growth in there. And again, the amount of work that got done in-house was simply amazing, and kudos to our staff for all their hard work on those. Significant projects, obviously, our water and wastewater treatment plants, the largest projects in our town's history at around $140 million. And these projects are going to be ongoing until 2028 and allow the town to eventually grow without having to do expansions again to about 25,000 people. We're upgrading 6 of our pumping stations. We started construction on Captain A. Roy Brown to be completed sometime in 2026. We have our ongoing roadworks program that we do every year and accomplished a lot of streets last year. And we installed a new multi-use path along the south side of Kavanaugh Road, and that was born out of citizens' requests. Flat out, it wasn't something we planned on doing, but citizens came out and asked that we do that for safety, and we found the ability to do it, and we're able to accomplish that. And I'll give a bit of a shout out to Councillor Mark Hinton, who got started off the conversation about the turning lanes at Coleman and Franktown Road. And I quite frankly have heard nothing but great things about that, and I'm one of the ones that use them quite regularly, so thank you. We attended 11 grand openings and ribbon cuttings, and in the past 7 years, we have obtained $60.2 million in grant funding. In the last calendar year, we have had 8 different programs for a total of $7.43 million. And in some form or fashion, that is saving either our citizens' money or our future development partners' money in the form of dev fees, like the wastewater. The $35 million we received from the province and the feds on the wastewater will directly offset dev fees, which we will not have to charge to our development partners. And we have continued investments in our recreation and culture offerings, and special events that we held. There were so many festivals and special events that go on around the town. And one of the things I wanted to highlight about that was there are so many business partners right now that are investing back into our community and sponsoring events. I got to say kudos, and I know council talks about it with regularity. Thank you very much for all our community partners and our businesses that step up to give our citizens great festivals, and we're able to do a little bit more because of that funding. So thank you so very much. And residential development is ongoing and will be ongoing for the next little while. As we look ahead, including into 2026, which is an election year, our focus will not waver. We will continue to invest carefully in recreation, infrastructure, and essential services while positioning the town for future growth and resilience. Record levels of grant funding, major infrastructure projects now underway, and continued reinvestment in our parks, facilities, and culture demonstrate the municipality that plans ahead, lives within its means, 1.95%, and remains accessible and accountable to the people that we serve. Our group is about building a community that works today and is prepared for tomorrow. And just a couple of highlights of what's going on this year. We have the updated recreation concept plan, which we will be rolling out at some point, probably in the first half of the year to our citizens, so that they can give opinion and voice to what we are doing there. We are adding a new rest stop along the Ottawa Valley Rail Trail. We have new park in O'Donovan, upgrades to our Civitan ball diamond down by the arena. We have new play structure and replacements and upgrades onto a splash pad at Riverside Park, and many other items. Growth related, we're working on the expansions, obviously, of our water and wastewater. We did upgrade with a brand new plow truck this year for snow removal, and continued work on our 6 towns pumping stations. And as I said earlier, this is an election year, and in October we will go to the polls. And I truly hope that people see the hard work we've done in these 4 years, and we will continue to do, regardless of whether it's an election year or not. We will continue to be accessible and available to the public. And I look forward to a great 2026. And thank you very much. And let's move along, and we will do that with a confirmatory bylaw. Recommend a motion, please.
That bylaw 07/2026, confirmation of council proceedings for January 13th, 2026, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Thank you very much. Mover, Councillor Comley, seconded by Councillor Hinton. All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Adjournment in the recommended motion is that we adjourn at 6:18. Moved by Deputy Mayor Tennant, seconded by Councillor Sekaspina. All in favor? We are adjourned, and we will move along to the Committee of the Whole with Councillor Hinton.
All right. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole for January 13th, 2026, and Happy New Year to everybody. This being our first Committee of the Whole meeting for 2026. I will call to order. I will now call the Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 6:19 p.m. Approval of agenda. The suggested motion is that the agenda be approved as presented. Moved by Mayor Randall, seconded by Councillor Sekaspina. Any discussions?
We're going to have to amend the agenda to remove the second in-camera item, which pertain to community planning matters and potential purchase of land. So that item is being removed.
With that amendment, do we still have our first and second? Councillor Sekaspina? Good. Any discussions on the agenda? All in favor? Opposed? See none, and that motion is carried. Moving on, declaration of pecuniary conflict of interest and general nature thereof. You can announce now or anytime during the meeting. I see none. Minutes to be approved and received. The suggested motion is that the Committee of the Whole minutes dated December 9th, 2025 be accepted as presented. Moved by Councillor Comley, second by Councillor Atkinson. Any discussions? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? See none. Thank you. That motion is carried. And moving right on to reports. Our first report of the evening will be our recreational concept plan update, communication 137001. And we have Ross Rankin, property and project manager, to go through this with us. Ross?
Thank you, through the chair. I just want to give a sort of some highlights of the report that you've received. The report I think is pretty clear, and I'll take questions afterwards once I go through this. So we expect that there will be an announcement sometime in the spring of a grant through the provincial government on infrastructure. So we want to make sure that we are prepared for that, and that's why we're going to provide an update on where the committee has been gone in the last little while. To prepare this application, we would like to look at a 5-year business plan on the pool, and we're highlighting the pool because, as council knows, we've had some issues in the last couple of months, and unfortunately, we continue to get these little blips every so often. So we're highlighting the pool, and we want to go out and hire a consultant that will help us with a 5-year business plan, and that's highlighted in the report as well. I also want to highlight that the committee met with Merthyr Pool's Sprung Structures on their proposal for a modular build. Basically, it's a very quick build. These facilities can go up within a year's time. They approached staff in October to have a conversation, and we went through a presentation, and I think the committee would support that. We were all pretty excited about the proposals and some of the things that they can provide. It's not just the pool that they provide. It could be any type of building. So if you ever get a chance to take a look at the Sprung website, there's also all kinds of facilities. So gymnasiums, hockey rinks, office buildings, all kinds of things. Those two organizations are involved with the Uxbridge Township pool that's currently being built with a pickleball facility attached to it. So this is why we would like to go down this road and continue the conversations with them. Just before Christmas, staff had some meetings with both Merthyr Pools, Sprung Structures, as well as BLT Construction, who is the construction company on the project in Uxbridge, to take a look, to get a rendering of what could possibly happen, which is the drawings are in this report as well as to provide a Class D budget to give us an idea of what our costs are. And the Class D budget is $25 million. So I just also want to highlight that the renderings, the Class D budget, and the Aquatic Associates proposal are attached to the report. And I would be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Ross. We have some hands up. We'll start off with Councillor Sekaspina, followed by Deputy Mayor Tennant.
I saw Andrew's first. So before I was councillor, I hated business plans. I hated feasibility studies. I didn't understand. I just thought the town was wasting money. But we need to do this business plan because is it Uxbridge? Am I really slaughtering this town that got this they got Oxbridge. Okay. They got $7.7 million in a grant out of 15 million after doing this. And we can't keep repairing the aging pool. 3.8 million is the repairs and closing it down for a year. So I thank you, Ross, for pushing this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sekaspina. Deputy Mayor Tennant.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ross. So I sit on this, call it a subcommittee working group. I'm not sure what we call it, with Councillor Comley and the mayor. And we sat in on a presentation just recently in the last month or so. It was very exciting. The original costs that we had for building an addition that housed a pool were just staggering numbers that we're having a hard time digesting. So this gives us some options in reasonable sort of realms that we can actually work with. And we did ask Ross and other staff to come back with some rough numbers very, very quickly, because we are going to be meeting with ministers this weekend, and we would like to have this discussion with them. As Councillor Sekaspina mentions, the business plan is our presentation to upper level governments so that we can access grant funding. We have to have our ducks in a row, but there'll be much more to come, assuming we go down this path. We'll have lots of discussions, lots of images, lots of things to look at and discuss. But right now, it's about getting us in front of ministers so that we can try to access some funds so that we can build some stuff. So thanks very much, Ross, for doing all this work really, really quickly and working with Merthyr and the other folks. But it's a very exciting project with more to come.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Tennant. Any other questions? Mayor Randall.
Again, Thank you, Ross, for the presentation. And as Deputy Mayor Tennant alluded to, I was part of that meeting. I too am very excited, mostly about the speed at which they can erect these things, the quality of the materials and the workmanship. These companies are what you would see at the Olympics. They build the Olympic pools. And so you're not dealing with, fly-by-nighters. These are professional companies that this is their business, and they do it very well. But mostly, as Andrew alluded to, we were looking at, 70 million and higher for a bricks and mortar building. And we're looking at a third the cost of that. And some of that will be paid through expansion of dev fees. Others will be taxed. We will sort that out later. Are we attached to this specific site, Ross? Based on my one concern, and I've expressed this to you, is as it's laid out right now, doesn't leave us really much room for expansion. I know there's a couple of other properties around the town. Are we tied to this site specific?
No, we're not tied to this site. It was part of the original concept plan because of brick and mortar building that would make sense to attach it to the arena complex. But as anybody who's been able to take a look at the preliminary design, it's an independent building. It's by itself, so it could be located anywhere within the town.
Thank you. The other thing that we've had some very, very preliminary discussions on and chats with the group is, looking at our other partners. We're in a cost sharing agreement with one of our neighbors. And there are other municipalities that surround us that, if you're looking well into the future, that we're not going to be 14,000, and Beckwith is not going to be 10,000, and other municipalities that are coming up on us. If we look to serve everybody in the future, and we look at a regional approach, there might be other partners that come to the table, and we could be looking at this project as it sits to look after the citizens of Carleton Place and our friends from Beckwith, or we might do something bigger if other entities want to step up. And if we get money from the feds or the province, who knows? Again, that's my only concern, is behind the arena, we're kind of landlocked and there's no room really to expand. We've got to make sure parking's adequate. But what I do like is this. Normally I don't like this speed when you do things fast. And we have done this relatively fast, but Ross, you've done a very good job in communicating with us and the working group, and bringing in companies that you can trust. So thank you very much. And I look forward to how this unfolds and hearing from our citizens and what they think of it.
Thank you, Mayor Randall. Any other comments or questions? See done. I just want to add one thing off of what Mayor Randall was saying. And Ross, thank you very much for the work on this. We met for the better part of an hour and a half last week in your office. I appreciate all the time you gave me going through this. And one thing I want to bring the attention to citizens here is, initially, when I heard a dome, I think of Thunderbird, where they have a dome, or the domes that are at Hunt Club and Green Bank. This is not what we are presenting here. This is a module construction. When you're inside, it's the same feel as a brick and mortar. They're great looking facilities with it. So I don't want citizens to get confused that we're going to be doing a dome, because that's not what this is. So I know after spending time with you, Ross, we went bantered back about a lot of different options and things, but super, super excited about this coming forward and getting it forward quickly as we're looking at, and fully support the 5-year business plan, so we can hopefully move forward on this and save the citizens millions of dollars on an aging infrastructure pool that we currently have, and get them into something that's going to be state of the art and something we can all be proud of. So fully supported. Thank you. So I will go ahead and read the suggested motion that council approve retaining the services of Aquatic Associates, to complete the aquatic workshop and 5-year business plan as outlined in the report by the property and project manager dated January 13th, 2026. Can I get a mover to seconder on that, please? Moved by Counselor Sekaspina, seconded by Counselor Kavanaugh. All in favor? Opposed? See none, and that motion has been approved. Thank you, Ross. Moving on to our second report of the evening, doc proposal, communication 1370002. And presenting this tonight is going to be Joanne Henderson, our Manager of Recreation and Culture. Joanne?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. During the 2026 budget deliberations, I brought forward a proposal to replace the docks at the Moore House as they have deteriorated and need some repairs. During the deliberations, I was asked to come back with a plan or a proposal for looking at the boat launch docks. So in this report, you'll see that I've provided 3 different options, and as well as some diagrams explaining what we are proposing. With the boat launch docks, you can see that we're adding additional docks that will allow for better staging for when the boats come in to leave the river. And that's what the problem is right now with the boat launch. Everything gets congested and there's nowhere. The people are just out in the middle of the river waiting to come in and bring their boats off the river. As well, we included an option number 2 for the Moore House docks, where the docks have been reconfigured to allow for better parking for the boats. Again, in this current situation of the docks at the Moore House, there's very little docking space for boats that are coming in off the river and coming from the lake. So this proposal provides for some more parking for the boats. Just to make a note that it looks like it's going to go way out into the river, but the docks will only go probably just a little bit past the existing building that's there right now. So we have the 3 options. We also have option number 3, where we're suggesting that we repair the docks of the Moore House, but we can repair them temporarily this year, but they're going to need work the following year. And is it worth repairing the docks every year instead of reinvesting the money into something that will last many years? So I will now take questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Joanne. And we'll start with Counselor Sekaspina.
Joanne, dock proposal number 3, fixing aging docks, I don't think is the answer, especially with the increase of uses we have. Option 2, you were talking about configuring the docks. Have you any idea how many docks it would give us?
Oh, through the chair. So we're using the same number of docks at the Moore House. They're just reconfigured so that it allows for better parking for boats.
Best, we should stop spending money on repairing things that are they're going to break or sink, and it ends up costing money for everyone. So thank you for doing this report.
Thank you, Counselor Sekaspina. Counselor Atkinson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I agree with Counselor Sekaspina. I think option 2 looks like the best option right now. It falls within the budget that we approved, and it serves the need, a known need. For option 1 is interesting, but I'd rather do a little more study of the existing boat launch before investing that much money into additional docking there. I think I just think we need to do a bit of a study in terms of growth usage, whether or not more docking is needed, or whether or not an additional launch is needed at the site. Because I know it gets very congested there with people coming in and off the river, but it's also very congested there with people trying to access a dock, access a launch, and actually find parking for their trailers while they're there. I think it needs a closer look before we put money into that boat launch. I recognize that it's needed, but I'd also like to see data for growth of usage as well to justify, for example, if we're going to be spending development fees on a project like this, we really need to demonstrate that there's been ongoing growth over the past number of years to hinge it to that.
Thank you, Councillor Atkinson. Deputy Mayor Tennant.
I also like option 2 for the Moore Street, the Morehouse docks. I would move ahead with the boat launch, and partly because I live near there and I know how unbelievably busy it gets during the summer. These are docks that we can reconfigure if needed. They're not tied down, so to speak. We can use them other places if need be. So I'm not overly concerned we're making the wrong move because we can always use them somewhere else. My primary concern is actually safety. I've been there at that launch when a bunch of folks are going in and out, and I'm terrified someone's going to get hurt. I think having a bit more surface area for people to work their boats in and out would be really, really helpful. It's not a significant amount of money. So I would support 1 and 2. And if I was going to, if we were going to argue over money, I would probably support 1 and remove the Morehouse or lower the cost of that. I think the boat launch is critical right now. I definitely agree with Councillor Atkinson that we need to do a rethink of that whole area. And I don't know what we're going to do because there's only so many feet to work with, but it does need some work. But for the time being, I think it wouldn't hurt us to put a little bit of money into expanding those, putting that further. It would make everybody really, really happy to have a bit more space to work on, a lot safer. So I'd support 1 and 2. We got into an argument about money. I'd cut off 2.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Tennant. Mayor Randall.
Thank you. So my question, Joanne, is on the visual for boat launch 1. You're doing that to both launches? Like there's 2 separate launches there. We're going to essentially put in the same configuration for both sides?
Yes.
Okay. If anything, and I like, we have time, for sure, because we're not putting docks in the middle of the winter. I don't mind Councillor Atkinson's request for additional information, but I'm opposite in that I would want more information on the Moore Street to find out how much that truly is used, how many people are coming down the river. Once you get down there, especially, I mean, in the past couple of years, when the water is low, there are certain spots navigating down that river can be kind of treacherous. I just am not sure how often that gets used. I like the idea to have it there because it supports our downtown businesses. People come off the lake, they park there, they go have a bite to eat or shop, and they get back on and they go back up the lake. But I agree wholeheartedly with Councillor or Deputy Mayor Tennant in that boat launch in the middle of the summer at the end of Lake Avenue is crazy busy. And I've actually been advocating for this type of structure on 1 of the boat launches, not both, but if we're going to do both, that's terrific. It's busy down there. And that's not just on tournament days when we have, a couple of times a year where we have tournaments. On a regular weekend and when weather's decent, the parking lot's full. And I don't have an answer to the parking situation down there, as Councillor Atkinson alluded to, because there is an issue. But if I don't know that a decision has to be made today, because we do have I know you'd probably have to order docks and make sure that they're ready for the spring, but we do have a little bit of time if people wanted you to do a bit more investigation to find out, I don't know if we poll the BIA or the BIA specifically and say, do you ever hear about people coming off the lake? Again, just visually, I don't see a ton of traffic down there. So putting $30,000 into that and not upgrading our existing boat launch, which is very, very busy. I'd want more information about Moore, not the other one, because I know the other one's busy. I'm not sure about the Moore Street one.
Thank you, Mayor Randall. Councillor Kavanaugh.
Thank you. Yeah, I support option 1 too for all those reasons. When it comes to Morehouse, in the same vein that Deputy Mayor Tennant just said, I believe it was him that said about the docks, investing in them doesn't mean that they have to stay in that spot forever, for one. And in terms of collecting data, in my opinion, the best way to get that kind of data is to provide the opportunity for people to come and park their boats and determine the usage at that point. We have no way of assessing if people are coming down, realizing they can't park anywhere and turning around. It's a hard metric. However, investing the money, providing it as an opportunity for people and seeing how that opportunity is used really is a better gauge. And further, if it isn't used to our satisfaction, those docks are an investment that we can then use, whether that's, adding more docks in another location, Boat Lodge, Centennial Park, or wherever we decide in the future. I would just think that would be a better way to get the data we're looking for. And aside from boat parking, I believe I said the last time that this came up, I see those dock spaces being used a lot for people to just access the water. They're going out there, they're sitting with their kids, they're taking pictures, and they might not be parking boats all the time, but that is still a valuable engagement with our waterfront for people both visiting and residents. So I'm supportive of investing that amount of money just to get the interest.
Thank you, Councillor Kavanaugh. Councillor Comley.
Yeah, similar to Councillor Kavanaugh, the docks down at Morehouse are used a lot by people who just go to access the water and pedestrians. I would be interested to know what the average water depth was at the end of those docks, because it is getting lower and lower, and that's going to continue. Are these floating docks or solid? My wonder is for kayaks and canoes that want to access. Can they access these docks, or if they're a solid dock, are you 5 feet below the dock and can't get out of your canoe?
They're floating docks.
Perfect. I think the investment in the Morehouse is worth it, partly because they are modular and can be used elsewhere, but more people are going to get more benefit out of upgrading the boat launch docks than these ones. So I'm in favor of option 1 and 2, but I think the Morehouse docks realistically are not going to be for boat parking unless we're targeting canoes and kayaks in the future, because it is very shallow there, and that's how it's going to continue.
Thank you, Councillor Comley. Mayor Randall.
Thank you. And I'll throw this out there. I like Councillor Kavanaugh's idea about them not being stuck there. And I thought of it, but just it never made me think that what this option might be is do we buy two? They're all identical, correct?
I believe so.
So do we buy 2 sets of structures? Try it at Morehouse for a year? Do some, BIA does some inquiries with people that are coming in to eat, or, you're coming off the lake, or we get some data that way. And we do 1 set this year up at Lake Avenue, which would add, obviously, better than what we have there right now. And if we find that, the ones at Morehouse just truly aren't being used, or you can make it a smaller structure and move the other one up, or move that one up there and put a smaller structure at Moore after a year's worth of investigation and information. It's an idea that we might, save ourselves $30,000, and also plan for the next couple of years if, as Councillor Atkinson said, the numbers justify it, to save a few bucks and add the second one up at the furthest launch on Lake Avenue. Again, I just throw that out there. Quite frankly, I'd be in favor of just doing all of it, but if we're looking to save a buck or two and we want to do a bit of investigation, that might be, is that they don't have to just be on Moore or up there. They could be interchangeable from year to year.
Deputy Mayor Tennant.
I just wanted to make a couple of points. One of the things that got brought up was the depth of the river. And I had a conversation with Joanna a while ago about this, and that's one of the advantages to pushing the docks a little further out into the center of the river, is you do get a bit more depth, so we can have some larger boats actually access them. The second thing that I would mention about sort of promoting that type of dock that's in our downtown core is that there's a tourism component, and that we might be able to engage our tourism people to sort of spread the word, maybe try to access some funding, that sort of thing, because this would be people visiting our downtown core. So just something to think about. It doesn't really change my opinion about it, but a couple of points.
Thank you. Councillor Atkinson.
Good discussion. That's you've changed my mind. So and that takes a lot to do. But no, the notion that the docks can be moved around to multiple places, I hadn't considered the option of being able to relocate them to Centennial Park or even the other side of the river. I think the motion that stands before us to support both options 1 or 2 works. It does involve spending more than we budgeted for, but as Councillor Kavanaugh indicated, it's an investment. And we can gather the information we need about the boat launch with those in place. It will offer some relief to the congestion, not all of the congestion, but it's certainly an improvement, and I can support the main motion now.
Thank you, Councillor Atkinson. Any other discussions before I chime in? See none? So as a boater who's out there weekly on the Mississippi, upgrades at the boat launch is an absolute necessity. There's virtually, there's fist fights. I've seen up to 12 and 15 boats floating and waiting, and all it takes is one person putting their boat in or taking their boat out for the first or second time, and you are sitting floating for a half hour, 45 minutes. So again, it's mostly development fees because this is increased than what we currently have. So it's going to be mostly development fees paying for it. My biggest concern is Moore Street, which seems to be everybody. I think we're all on board with doing the launch, the boat launch. I come in with my boat and I have got the prop. It is barely in the water to get down there. Last year, I never went close to past the canoe club because it was so treacherous that I'm not going to chance my boat. I agree with Councillor Comley and others who commented. It's probably great for kayaking and for canoeing. Kayaks are now picked up over on Centennial Park. So I'm not in favor of spending $30,000 right now with taxpayer-funded money for something that we're kind of questioning, is it the right spot to do it? Is Centennial Park the better site to do it? Because that's where the boats and the kayaks are going in, quite frankly. That's where they're putting in their boats and their kayaks. And I don't know the answer to that. So I'm not a kayaker, I'm not a canoeer, but for a boat, period, certainly I'm in favor of option 1 and 3 at this point, as opposed to investing $30,000 on additional docks down at Moore.
I just was going to suggest that, for the boat launch docks, there's 6 docks. We could go with 3 and just do half of it and do the other 4 at the Moore House, and we could reconfigure. But Centennial Park, you have to be very cognizant that the canoe club, if they're having any type of event, the Dragon Boat Festival, you can't be sticking docks out into that area of the river. Yeah.
Yep, Mayor.
I think Councillor Kavanaugh and Councillor Atkinson hit the nail on the head, is that it's an investment and they can be moved around. The other spot that we haven't talked about is the space halfway between the canoe club and the boat launch. Is there's docks that go there. And if you could have some form of again, that is a spot where I do see young families fishing, people taking photos, watching the sunset. I don't think throwing $5,000 at that launch to fix it up is the right way to go. I think we just bite the bullet, and we already had some money during budget for investment, and the other stuff is going to come out of dev fees. So I think that we just do it, and then we take a year, do some investigation. Again, if the Moore House docks truly aren't getting utilized that way, then maybe you take half of them and swing them on down to that midpoint, or find another spot along the river to add to. But I think I'm in favor of 1 and 2.
Joanne?
Just one other comment too is we did have docks at the Water Street side of the river, and again, that could be an area that we could reconfigure or move the docks around if we find that it's not working here. There's lots of different options.
Thank you, Joanne. Councillor Kavanaugh?
And not to belabor it, because I love these discussions. But the other thing to consider just from a tourism perspective and, you know, in engaging with the BIA membership is that the Kayak-A-Mac rentals at Centennial, the ideal scenario is someone rents a kayak, does a little loop-de-loop, parks their kayak, walks downtown, gets their kayak and goes and takes it back to Centennial. Right, it creates an engagement, whereas now if they get their kayak, they go the other way and they go back to Centennial Park, but there's never kind of an easy way for them to access the downtown. And so that's another way we could promote it and get good data and usage that way as a tourism, you know, moment.
Thank you, Councillor Kavanaugh. If there's no more discussion, and great discussion, I will read the suggested motion. The council approved proceeding with option 1, boat launch docks, and option 2, Morehouse docks, as outlined in the Manager of Recreation and Cultures report dated January 13th, 2026. Can I get a mover and seconder? Mayor Randall, seconded by Councillor Secaspina. All in favor? Opposed? See none. Thank you, Joanne. The motion is carried. Great discussion. And we're on to new and other business this evening, which we have none. Now we are on to committee, board, and external organization updates. The suggested motion is that the following minutes be received. The BIA board from October 20th, 2025, and the Environmental Advisory Committee board meeting from December 1st, 2025. Can I get a mover and seconder on those? Councillor Atkinson, seconded by Councillor Comley. Any discussions? See none. All in favor? Opposed? See none. And that has passed. We are on to information listings. We have 3 from the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus from December 2025. The Lanark County Traffic Advisory Workshop Group minutes from December 10th, 2025. And AMO Bill 68 Fast Fact Sheet from December 19th, 2025. There is 2 motions, which I will read out. The suggested motion firstly is that the information listings dated January 13th, 2026 be received. If I can have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Comley, Mayor Randall, all in favor? Opposed? None? Thank you. That motion's passed that they've been received. There is a second motion. The suggested motion is in regards to AMO Bill 68 Fact Sheet from December 19th, 2025. Therefore, be it resolved that the town of Carleton Place does not support the legislative changes to the OMERS Act contained in Bill 68 and requests that the Government of Ontario reconsider the advisability of proceeding with these changes. Further, be it resolved that the Town of Carleton Place Council supports the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, in calling on the Government of Ontario to maintain the current OMERS governance model with 2 corporate boards as the structure that would best deliver on the long-term interest of municipalities, taxpayers, and employees. Be it further resolved that this resolution be circulated to the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs, the Minister of Finance, and the MPP for Lanark Frontenac Carleton, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO. If I can get a mover and seconder for that, please. Moved by Councillor Kavanaugh, seconded by Councillor Atkinson. Is there any discussions? Deputy Mayor Tennant.
Yeah, this is not something I would vote on without a report. This is sending a missive to upper level government to state our position. We don't have an official report. We don't have the information on this. I don't know anything about this. I'm not voting on this.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Tennant. Mayor Randall?
Thank you. Just for context, I was at a Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus meeting on Thursday and Friday. And all 13 member counties were in support of this item. And effectively saying that all 103 lower tier municipalities were also supporting this item. Essentially what the province is doing is trying to take away the members' rights to control their own retirement funds. That they're not allowing the lower tiers to have as much say as they had at one point, and representation. So just for I'm not trying to change anybody's mind, just letting you know that the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus approved on last Thursday this exact item to say that they also would like the province to reconsider. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you, Mayor Randall. Any other discussions or questions? See none. All in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. And we are heading into closed session for one item, as outlined in our amended agenda. It's for community planning matter. The suggested motion is that the committee move into the closed session at 6:55 p.m. to discuss matters subject to the Municipal Act, Section 239-2, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instructions to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local boards for item 1. And the following persons be permitted to participate in the meeting: Stacy Blair, Clerk, and Nikki Dwyer, Director of Development Services. Can I get a mover and seconder? Councillor Atkinson, Councillor Kavanaugh, all in favor? Approved. And we are going into closed session, and we'll be back sometime in the near future.
Council received a report as information during the closed session.
Thank you. And we are at adjournment. The suggested motion is that the meeting be adjourned at 8:36 PM. If I can get a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Comley, Mayor Randall, all in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you. Have a great evening.
All right.